Victoria Goodwin appeared to have the kind of life many could only dream of: a devoted husband, financial stability, and a deep connection to the supernatural, a world she had always been drawn to. Yet, rather than cherishing what she had, she let it all slip away, consumed by a dangerous obsession that would ultimately lead to her downfall. At 30 years old, Victoria had spent much of her life captivated by the eerie and unexplained, always drawn to ghost stories, haunted locations, and the idea that there was more to this world than what met the eye. So, when she crossed paths with Aaron Goodwin, a well-known figure in the paranormal community, it felt like destiny. Aaron, a seasoned investigator in his mid-40s, had made a name for himself as a beloved member of Ghost Adventures, a show dedicated to uncovering the mysteries of the spirit world. Despite the chilling encounters he faced in his line of work, Aaron was known for his warm and easygoing personality, an endearing mix of humor and sincerity that made him stand out. Friends and fans alike affectionately referred to him as a big teddy bear, a man whose genuine kindness shone through even in the most terrifying of circumstances. Victoria and Aaron clicked almost instantly, their connection sparking like a scene from one of the ghost stories they both loved. Aaron was immediately taken by Victoria's charm, finding her both intriguing and easy to talk to, while she was captivated by his deep passion for the supernatural. Their relationship escalated quickly, as if fate itself had pulled them together, and by August 2022, they sealed their bond in a way that was perfectly on brand for them, a hauntingly romantic wedding at Disneyland's Haunted Mansion. To the outside world, they seemed like the ultimate paranormal power couple, sharing a love for ghost hunting and all things eerie. Their social media posts painted a picture of a fairy tale romance, albeit one where late-night seances and shadowy figures were part of the usual routine. But behind the veil of gothic romance and playful ghost-chasing, something much darker was brewing. Their marriage wasn't the picture-perfect love story it appeared to be. At first, Victoria seemed genuinely happy. She shared sweet posts about Aaron, celebrated their anniversaries, and played the role of the supportive wife to a well-known TV personality. It looked like she was living the dream, married to a man who adored her, wrapped up in a world of ghost hunting and adventure. But as time passed, the excitement started to fade. Maybe it was the long periods Aaron spent filming, leaving her alone with too much time to think. Maybe it was the way his fans idolized him, making her feel like just another person in his orbit instead of the center of his world. Or maybe she just craved something different, something new, something thrilling. Whatever the reason, boredom crept in, and Victoria found herself restless, searching for anything that could bring back the rush she was missing. And then, in 2024, she found it. One random afternoon, Victoria curled up on the couch and put on a true crime documentary. She had always been fascinated by these kinds of stories, but this one was different. It hit her in a way she didn't expect. The case of Grant Amato, a twisted, shocking story, grabbed hold of her and wouldn't let go. Grant Amato was the kind of criminal you couldn't forget. Back in 2019, his story made headlines for all the wrong reasons. He wasn't just a murderer, he was a man so consumed by obsession that he destroyed his own family for it. It all started with a cam girl, a woman he had never even met in person but was convinced he was in love with. His devotion to her wasn't just emotional, it was financial. Grant drained his family's bank accounts, stealing over $200,000 to keep the illusion of their online relationship alive. His parents and brother tried to stop him, begging him to come to his senses. But instead of remorse, Grant felt rage. In a brutal act of betrayal, he murdered them all in cold blood. The case was shocking, even in the world of true crime. It was the kind of story that made most people shake their heads and think, what the hell is wrong with this guy? But Victoria? She wasn't horrified. She wasn't disgusted. She was intrigued. While others saw a monster, she saw something else entirely. And instead of recoiling, she leaned in. For reasons no sane person would understand, Victoria made a decision that would change everything. She wrote to Grant Amato in prison. Maybe it was the adrenaline rush of connecting with a convicted killer, or maybe she saw herself as the one person who truly understood him, the one who could save him. Whatever the reason, she reached out. And to her twisted delight, he responded. What started as a few letters turned into something much more intense. They exchanged messages regularly, each letter drawing Victoria deeper into his world. Then, somehow, Grant got his hands on a contraband cell phone, and that changed everything. Suddenly, they weren't just pen pals, they were in constant contact, texting, talking, weaving an emotional connection that quickly spiraled into something dangerous. Victoria wasn't just intrigued anymore. She was obsessed. She fell for Grant, hard. But there was one glaring issue. She was still married. At first, Victoria did her best to keep her feelings for Grant hidden. She played the part of the loving wife, posting about Aaron, smiling for photos, and keeping up appearances. But behind closed doors, her mind was somewhere else, wrapped up in fantasies of a future with a man who had wiped out his own family over a woman he had never even met. The charade couldn't last forever. The more she talked to Grant, the more restless she became. She confided in him about her unhappiness, venting about her marriage, painting herself as the victim in a life she had willingly chosen. To her, divorce wasn't an option. It was too messy, too drawn out. She didn't want to leave Aaron. She wanted him gone. And Grant had a solution. Together, they devised a plan: get rid of Aaron, permanently. With Grant's connections outside of prison, finding someone to do the job wasn't difficult. Using his contraband phone, he reached out to a hitman, setting everything in motion. Victoria was all in. She sent every detail the killer would need: Aaron's filming schedule, where he was staying, what car he was driving. She even shared a recent photo of him, along with his real-time location from a tracking app. The hit was set to go down while Aaron was on a filming trip in California. The price? $11,515. A strangely specific number, but then again, contract killing isn't exactly a standardized business. Victoria kept up the act flawlessly. To anyone scrolling through her Instagram, she was just another happily married woman, posting anniversary photos and gushing about her husband like nothing was wrong. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, she was counting down the days until he was gone, texting Grant about how much better life would be once Aaron was out of the picture for good. Then, finally, the night of the hit arrived. Grant, pacing in his prison cell, sent the final message to the hitman. Aaron's asleep. Move forward. And then, nothing. Minutes passed. Then hours. No response. No confirmation. Just silence. And then, everything fell apart. Prison officials, acting on a tip, raided Grant's cell and found his illegal phone. It was confiscated immediately, cutting him off from Victoria and the outside world in an instant. Victoria had no clue what had happened. She kept refreshing her messages, waiting for an update, but the hitman had gone radio silent. The plan, so carefully arranged, so dangerously close to being carried out, crumbled before it could even begin. And Aaron? He went to bed that night completely unaware of how close he had come to never waking up again. For months, Victoria kept up the performance. She celebrated Valentine's Day with Aaron, smiling for pictures and posting about their perfect life together. She cooked dinner, held his hand, and played the role of a devoted wife, all while knowing she had tried to have him killed. But behind the scenes, law enforcement was piecing everything together. Grant's confiscated phone had been a goldmine of evidence. Investigators combed through the messages, uncovering everything: the detailed plans, the money transfers, the real-time updates Victoria had sent to the hitman. Every text was a smoking gun, each one spelling out her guilt with terrifying clarity. By March 2025, there was no way out. The police showed up at Victoria's doorstep and arrested her. The woman who had once vowed to love and cherish Aaron had instead plotted to end his life, all for a convicted murderer she had never even met in person. Aaron, thankfully, was safe. And when he learned the truth, how close he had come to being another victim in Victoria's twisted obsession, he didn't hesitate. He filed for divorce immediately. Victoria now sits in a jail cell, awaiting trial on charges of conspiracy to commit murder. The woman who once had a stable life, a loving husband, and a shared passion for the paranormal is now facing the very real possibility of spending decades behind bars. As for Grant? Already doomed to a life sentence, he's managed to add yet another crime to his name, cementing his place as more than just a family annihilator, but a man willing to manipulate and destroy from behind prison walls. And then there's Aaron. He's lucky to be alive, but luck doesn't erase the betrayal. The realization that the woman he once trusted, the woman he had planned a future with, had been secretly plotting his death is something no one could prepare for. He now has to rebuild his life, not just as a survivor, but as a man who narrowly escaped the most chilling twist of all, being married to someone who wanted him dead. The case is still unfolding, but one truth remains undeniable: Victoria threw away everything for a fantasy. And in the end, she lost everything.